Hi friends, it's Terry Stewart, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Central Maryland. I'm here today with a follow-up to my paper pumpkin kit for the July 2022 Sending Good Thoughts. I've made a couple alternative cards that I wanted to share with you. So are you ready for some stamping fun? If you are and you get sick, look away because I'm turning the camera. Of course, if you don't get sick, you can just keep watching. You don't have to look away. Let me turn this camera. You're going to see my ceiling, my big light, and maybe my big head. All right, there is the catalog, the current mini catalog. I wanted to start there and show you where you can find the paper pumpkin. All right, so mini catalog, if you just turn on page 7, tells you about the paper pumpkin. It's a subscription. You can go month to month, costs a little bit more. You can get a prepaid for 1 month. That is a savings from the month to month. 3-month subscription, you can get 3 kits sequentially. And you might want to think about that for 2 reasons right now, because the kit that comes in October and the one that comes in November are typically holiday themed cards. So this would be a good time to get some cards. Subscribe now and you can get those 2 kits, and sometimes they do sell out the holiday kits. The other good reason why you would want to, because that 3-month subscription would qualify you for a Sale-a-bration item. And one of the, I've been talking a lot about the Sale-a-bration flyer. One of my alternatives actually uses this Rings of Love DSP, and you can get that for free with a 3-month subscription. Have any questions? Please feel free to hit me up. I'd be happy to chat with you about that. So, paper pumpkin. This is my July kit, and it says July 2022 Sending Good Thoughts. So I did an unboxing of this the other day, this kit. You get the instructions. So I've made some of the cards already. This is the one I made during my Facebook Live, and if you're watching on YouTube, welcome, because you're watching on replay. I appreciate that. So these are the cards I followed right with the instructions, went right along with them, and created these cards. It made 9 cards, 3 each, of 3 designs. But then I did go off-road a little bit. And of course, they come with the envelopes. So I wanted to show you what I had made, my cards. So we're going to need, for my alternatives, I'm going to show you how I did it. Need the stamp set, the ink spot, although I'm using my own ink, some linen thread. I like the bigger ink pads. Those little spots are good for if you're on the go, but I have a large ink pad that I'm going to use. So this is the August kit that will be coming in a couple weeks, Sweet Sunflowers, and this has, if you're a subscriber, you're going to get it. It's going to actually have 2 ink spots, and then they're giving you a free gift, which is, does it tell you here? It's going to be some foil embellishment paper, some really like honeycomb, I think it's going to be. I did take all my extras and put them in this little bag just to have them handy. I am going to use this and this card base. I had that left over. So I think that's all I'm going to use from this box. I'll put my cards back in here that I've made, and then we can get started with the fun. Can't wait to show you. It's gonna be the one I went a little crazy with, the one card. So let me show you the what I went crazy with. The stuff put aside. So this is my first card, and I used Bermuda Bay cardstock. But I'm going to use this one from my kit. And this card, I stamped on it, I did some masking, and I created this bottle image. I did some daubing to create the the sky, and then I use my marker to do these birds. The second card, so this one kind of stuck with the nautical theme. The second card, I used the DSP from the Sale-a-bration, the Rings of Love, and then a piece of mint macaron cardstock. And this to me has a feeling of a graduation card. So I saw these little starfish up here, and to me they look like stars. So that's how I went. Oh, I just realized I put this card, it opens the wrong way. Ha! Isn't that funny? I just realized that. Well, when I get around to making this one for this demonstration, I'll put it the right way. So I've cut all my pieces that I'm going to need, and you can check out my blog, stampinghair.blogspot.com. The link is in the description below if you're watching on replay or on YouTube, and that blog post will give you all the measurements of what I used. So I have some masking paper here, and that's going to help me when I go to daub on this bottle to create this bottle. Got lots of masking, and a piece of white cardstock, and that's going to be our layer, and then some a little piece, kind of a scrap. This is what I get when I cut my cardstock and have a little bit left over. I think it's a 1/2 inch, and that's what I'm going to do my greeting on. And then I don't know what, oh, this for the other project. I was a little confused there. So when I made my original cards from the kit, there was a die cut in here, and I decided that I was going to use that to create a bottle. Actually, I think I'm going to make, yeah, I like it going to the left of the cap, to the left. So for this, I'm going to set my stamps aside for a moment, and I'm going to bring in my scrap paper, because you know I do not like to mess up my pristine work area. And then I'm going to bring in some of this masking paper. Let's get everything situated here. So I'm going to tape down my bottle to my paper with to my cardstock with this masking paper, and that way when I go to sponge or daub on it, I'll keep the ink right where I want it. So I'm going to put this in about the lower third of the card. I'm going to try to get it level, and let's see, I need to have enough paper that it will grab the cardstock underneath but cover it. So I'm going to put that all the way over. So now the cardstock is covered, and then I'm going to do the same for the bottom. And I think this piece is like 1 inch maybe. The same thing, I'm going to adhere it down to my cardstock and to my scrap paper underneath, so it doesn't get moved around. There we go. And then I have these little pieces on the side that I'm going to do the same thing with. I think these are 1/2 inch pieces. But this masking paper will it won't pull up the cardstock. Let's see, I've got this another little 1/2 piece here. So you can do all kinds of neat things with this masking paper. So it's like masking tape, but it's paper, so it absorbs the ink. And now I'm going to bring in my dauber, and for this bottle I'm going to be using Bermuda Bay. So this is my big ink pad. I told you the little ones can work, so I'm going to, when you're on the go, but at home I like these. And I'm inking this up, and then I'm going to kind of daub off and come down and make my bottle. And you'll have variations, which is fine, because it is a handcrafted project, so. That's about it. I mean, that's the way I made my bottle. Super simple and easy, right? Alright, and what do I want to do next? So then I want to create my cork in my bottle, and I did that with Memento ink is the cap and the smoky slate. So I used a blender pen for that, so this will pick up the ink and I can draw in my cork. So with my Memento ink, I'm going to use my blender pen, and these blender pens, they don't have any color, and if you just want to make sure you kind of scribble around that they're clear. So I'm going to pick up some black from my my pad and color this in. And I want to kind of give a little bit of a curve so it recognizes the stopper. And that's that. And so now I can just kind of go just scribble until it's clear and no color comes out. I'm just twirling my marker as I'm scribbling, and once it's clear, then I can move on to my next color. And my next color, I'm going to use this smoky slate, and I'm going to pick some color up from the top of the lid, and this, I'm going to draw some line, a line. You can see it kind of tapers in, so I'm going from this black in like about that much. And now I'm just going to take my blender pen and fill in that color, that gray stopper color. And I've quickly created my stopper. Okay, so now we are ready to stamp. Well, I'll clean my marker again, although I'm done with it for this project. There we go. All right, I'll put my blender pen, and we can do, we can reveal now. Peel this paper so you can see it just comes up. It doesn't pull the cardstock. And then the last piece of masking paper. There. And there's a bottle. Okay, so I'm going to now do this with my ink, my crumb cake ink. Take this, I don't know what this, like little dots. I kind of think it looks like sand, but maybe not. And I'll be using my tree, my ship, and sending good thoughts. So those are the three stamps I'll be using. So I'm going to attach that. Get this one for the boat. Put that up there. And then the last one, the sending good thoughts. Which way does it go? That, I think this is it. Grab that one. All right. And now, so I just stamped a lot. If you can, just inked it up and stamped randomly. And just kept stamping different variety of colors, or I would stamp and then maybe stamp off and then stamp a third time. So I just kept stamping, just kept stamping, kind of like that Dory song. Just keep swimming. Just fill in wherever you think there needs to be some texture, and I'll turn my stamp around. All right, so that is done, and now we're gonna stamp our ship, and that I stamped in soft suede. So this has a lot of different techniques in it: the masking, the blender pen. The next card is not so involved. I did go a little crazy on making this card, but that's part of the fun, I think. So I want to center this in my bottle, and this is with soft suede ink. So there we go. And now we're going to work on the sky, and for that I'm going to use Pacific Point. So this Pacific Point and Bermuda Bay was part of the colors, coordinating colors with this set. So here's my sponge dauber. I'm going to sponge out, or same thing with the blender pen, it's just get most of the ink on, and then I'm going to use my Pacific Point, and the same thing, I'm going to create a sky, and I don't want any splotches, so I'm going to dip it, pounce it on my scrap paper so I can bring it on and not get any splotchy elements. So just kind of blend it down and put as dark as you want. You can see on this one I got some splotches around the edge, but I kind of think that makes it look like there's clouds, so I wasn't so worried about the roundness of the dauber image. So I think that looks nice. I'm just making sure I get all my ink out of my dauber. I layer the ink on my card front. And then the last thing I'm going to, well, one of the last things, I'm going to stamp my greeting with Bermuda Bay and sending good thoughts. So I ink up this stamp. I'm going to try to get it even in here, and then I'm just going to snip off. So this piece is a lot bigger than I need. Didn't look like, okay, there we go. I could look through this. Since it's photopolymer, I could see that the ink wasn't as dark on the left side. And I'll just stamp it. And when you stamp, you should stamp straight down and then give it about 3 seconds for the ink to transfer from the stamp onto the paper. And here's my snips. And I'm just going to snip off about the same amount, so I have the same amount of space on the left as the right. So I'm just going to eyeball that up and snip it. Okay. And now we're ready to assemble. Oh, before I do that, the last thing is my marker. So I made these birds up with in the left corner. So my greeting is going to go there, and then I'm going to take the fine end of my Stampin' Write marker and make 5 birds, because that's you want an odd number, so 5 is the number I'm working with. So it's more or less just a long V, and they can go different ways. So it's a very shallow V. Ooh, I should not go over those because there's 3 of them. I'll put one down here, and then maybe another one up here. So there's my birds, my seagulls in the sky. And now I am done and ready to assemble. So I'm going to put some dimensionals behind this piece. These are the dimensionals that came with the kit. So I'm going to use 3 of these. Alright, and then put this card together and get one to the card that is a little bit, doesn't have as much going on as this one. So this is the card base from my kit. Now I'm going to put my card front that I just created. So it had masking on it, it had some blending with daubers, it had blender pen, it had making birds with using your marker. So this card definitely had a few techniques, so got a little crazy on the techniques, but I think it turned out alright. Of course, you could always just use a bottle from the kit, one of the die cuts, and just put this in here like that. Alright, so there you go. That's card number 1, and that took maybe a minute. And I'll set that aside and bring in the second card. So this is the card that I put the wrong way on my card base, and I think that it definitely looks like a graduation card. So here's my card base, and that's just a piece of white cardstock that I had. You could always use one of your card bases in the kit if you wanted to. It's a circle that came in the kit, piece of mint macaron that I cut, and then some scrap pieces. And I was going to bring in my Rings of Love. So this is the DSP that's in Sale-a-bration. You can get for free with a $50 order. It has all these terrific patterns in it. These houses, these birds, kind of a fall with these acorns. There's some in here that have more flowers, kind of a poinsettia, and I think there's a mushroom one, mushroom paper. There's the one with paper, and there you can see the backs. They have a variety of more just nondescript backgrounds. All right, so I'm going to cut this. My cutter available, and I believe this is 5 inches. Yes, and I'm going to cut it at 3 3/4. So that's one measurement I do recall. But check out my blog for the rest of them. So I'll go right like that. And now I'm going to do some stamping. Bring back my scrap paper, my mint macaron, because that's kind of the color scheme I was going with. And so what I did, I turned this over and I stamped and inked it up in mint macaron and stamped off, because the mint macaron was a little strong. So I stamped off and then stamped, inked, stamped off, inked, and just ran around the edges to create that image. And then I need my scrolled up image, which I guess would be a message in a bottle, but I'm thinking it looks like a diploma that's been scrolled up. And these starfish that I took just be stars with some confetti, and then wishing you all the best. So there are my stamps. I think I need get these on blocks. That and the stars, and then I'm gonna put my diploma on a block too. Okay, so for my stars, I just stamped directly onto the cardstock. Just went around randomly stamping some stars. They don't have to be perfect. They can be, oh, I just put my thumb in that. They can be coming off the paper. And then if there's any that looks like you need a little bit, you can go back and just kind of add them as where you think there's maybe too much of a bare spot. Maybe up there. All right, and that is done. And now I'm going to stamp my diploma. And then the last piece to stamp is with Memento ink. I'm going to stamp the wishing you all the best. I got this extra piece of scrap in case this oh. Okay, I think that's going to work here. Yes, perfect. And that is all the stamping for this project. I'm going to bring in there is some fussy cutting. So once I locate my snips over here on the side, do some fussy cutting. And I'm holding it with my left hand and steering, so kind of keeping my snips in one direction, and steering with my left hand as I go around this image. And that looks a little long. I'm going to trim this up a little bit down here. Alright, maybe just a bit there, a smidge there. So there's my diploma, and then I'm going to do the same with this, where I'm going to cut with my right and steer with my left, keeping my snips kind of in one direction. It doesn't really take long. Some people are not fans of fussy cutting, but it really goes rather quickly, I think. Nothing to fear with fussy cutting. Alright, so set all this aside, and now the last part, I wanted to use some of this linen thread that came with my kit and tie it around what I'm calling my diploma. So I'm just going to tie a bow. Hopefully this isn't too painful to watch, because sometimes when you're trying to tie a bow and being watched, it just doesn't go so well. Let's see. I feel like I need a second pair of hands. Alright, so I got around, and now comes the bow. Let's see. Not too bad. And I always tend to tie from my bolt, because if I I have a terrible time when I try to cut. I cut too long or I cut too short, and so I just tie from the bolt. There we go. Okay, so and this is actually going to get dimensionals on the back, and these may be too big. Let's see. That one will fit. Maybe they will fit. Only one will fit, not two. Okay. And then put some behind my greeting, wishing you all the best sentiment. And now we can assemble this card. And this one is going to be assembled correctly. I'm going to have my card base open on the right hand side as it should. With my beautiful patterns. You know, you hate to cover them up. It's so hard to pick one side or the other. But I felt like this plaid was more of an all occasion with my theme for a graduation. I'm just going to center that, and then this is going to get glued down kind of as a mat for that circle. And again, just centering it. I'm eyeballing up that it is centered. And then I'll put this at the top, kind of with the same measurements or same amount of distance, top, bottom, and side. So there's the piece from my kit that I didn't, that I repurposed for this card. Of course, if you had you're using Fresh Freeze, so maybe you want to use that side. Then my diploma, remove these backings from the dimensionals and lay that in there at a little bit of an angle and bring in our greeting. So this card really did not take that long. Well, neither did the first one. The first one just had a lot of techniques going on. And I'm going to put this down here in the lower right hand corner. Up, down, yeah, maybe right about there. And there you have the second alternative. So again, visit my blog for all the measurements for both of these cards. Subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be notified when I post more, and I plan to do more paper pumpkins in the future. And until next time, remember, stamping is fun. Bye.